But first, the Albanese government at it again, handing out your money to private businesses to pay their workers more. And no doubt too to boost union membership along the way. Today the Prime Minister was patting himself on the back yet again as some sort of Santa Claus for being generous with our money.
This will apply across the board for not-for-profit, for-profit, for out-of-school hours care, as long as those sectors as well pass on the benefit to families. It's also good for our economy because what this will do is increase workforce participation, make sure that more women can return to work earlier, make sure that so many women cannot be disadvantaged by working an extra day or two, that they can re-enter the workforce, boosting productivity.
So the detail of that announcement, he's going to spend $3.6 billion to give 200,000 childcare workers a 15% pay rise. Now, on average, that's around $10,000 a year each. But it won't stop there, because once a raise in wages is granted, it can't be taken back. And because almost all childcare funding comes from the federal government, this is a permanent increase of $2 billion a year in government childcare funding, meaning taxpayers will now spend over $15 billion a year on childcare. Now, there's just so much that's wrong with this. First, the whole handout mindset of the current Labor government. Every time there's a problem anywhere with anything, they just shovel out more of your money to advance their political interest, of course, and get themselves re-elected. Second, it's wrong in principle for government to interfere with the running of what are private businesses. I mean, why are we paying the wages of workers in a private business that makes a profit? Third, the whole concept of childcare as an over-regulated industry with massive taxpayer support rather than part of parenthood with any support directed to families, not businesses, well, the whole policy needs to be rethought. And fourth, see this for what it is: a massive wages pork barrel to boost union workers in regulated childcare centres, but nothing for those who use smaller in-home family daycare, or, God forbid, the poor old parents who look after their own children, or the thousands and thousands of grandparents who help out too. Earlier, in another multi-billion-dollar stunt, the Albanese government funded a 15% pay rise for aged care workers. Again, workers employed in private businesses. In both cases, part of the deal has been to shoehorn workers into these sectors to join the unions that otherwise would be losing members. Significantly, today's pay rise will be part of a multi-employer deal being negotiated between major childcare operators and the United Workers Union. Well, of course it is. And here's a union claiming credit for it, saying that, I quote, "This wage increase recognises a group of predominantly female workers who've been undervalued for decades." Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all in favour of higher wages for workers, provided, of course, they're productive. But one of the reasons why childcare fees are always going up, over 8% in the past 12 months, which is about double inflation, is because governments are always demanding extra qualifications for childcare workers and higher staffing ratios in childcare centres. Now, there should be a clear distinction between childcare for children up to 2 and preschool for kids after 3. There should also be a clear distinction between childminding and teaching. There should be better integration between childcare, preschool and then primary school. And there should be suitable support for all families with children, families that want to look after their own children, as well as those who prefer to send them to a childcare centre. Don't forget the rationale for government spending any money at all on childcare used to be, and you heard the Prime Minister there, that it would enable women to stay in the workforce, boost productivity, boost the economy, and of course, bring back into the coffers the taxes those workers would pay. But under this Labor government, there's no real requirement for parents using childcare to be working. So subsidies have become a way to pad out union membership and buy votes and not make the economy any stronger. I mean, basically, taxpayers are now funding care for people who don't want to look after their own children, not just parents who work full time. You can be at home, put your kids into care, and taxpayers will pay for it. Now, can you believe that under this government, parents can get taxpayer-funded childcare even where they earn over $500,000 a year, $500,000, and effectively you get welfare. Now, try telling a pensioner who can't afford to turn the heater on that that's fair. One of the justifications for today's cash splash is that childcare centres can't get staff, but that's partly because under Labor, NDIS workers, well, they earn about $50 an hour. So why be a childcare worker when the NDIS pays you more? In other words, extravagant government spending in one area often necessitates extravagant government funding in another area. The Prime Minister says he's helping us with all of these government handouts, but really, he's just helping himself. This isn't a productivity measure. This isn't about better childcare. This is about paying off union mates. It's about buying votes at the next election. And as with everything this Prime Minister does, it's using your money to do it at a time when you're barely surviving yourself.